Hello RC Flyers, this is RC Ron, and I'm here to share another programming video with you. This one is for the 16Iz, and it is telemetry programming using the Futaba SBS-01G or 02G GPS units that you can purchase. I wanted to go ahead and make this video because one, I had one person that had asked me about it. He had worked with the 14SG some, but he was having a little bit of problem when he started trying to get the GPS units to work with the 16Iz. So anyway, there's people like him that are stepping up from the 14SG, and even though there's a lot of things that are exactly the same as far as the programming goes, there's a lot of things that are very, very different. So I just want to try and help people kind of get adjusted to the differences there, and particularly with this particular item of the telemetry programming. So anyway, you're looking right now at the very first sheet that takes us step by step, everything that we're going to do. And these sheets are going to be available to you in a printout that you can you can actually print out from YouTube. There will be a download link in the information section right below the video that will take you to a link where you can download both of these sheets. So I'm going to just pull this over a moment, let you get a just a couple seconds here viewing the second page of this. But as I said, it will take you step by step through everything that we're going to do in this video. So in just a moment, we'll be looking at my transmitter, and we'll be getting these things set up. Now the very first thing that we're going to do in setting up the telemetry programming is we're going in and we've got to set up our model type. So let's go in, linkage menu, and then what we're going to do is go up to the model type, and we want airplane. You've got the choice, one aileron, two ailerons, or two ailerons and one flap. I always tell everyone to go ahead actually and set up two ailerons and two flaps, mainly because most of the people that have this radio and most of the people that are using this type of a system, they are flying scale type planes, warbirds, very detailed type aircraft, and they need 10, 12, 14 channels for them. So that goes ahead and gets you set up initially, but if you aren't using that kind of a aircraft, it's alright to go ahead and just set it up for one aileron, one flap, and then go ahead and use your Y connectors to make all of them work the way they should. Also, go ahead, your tail, we've got nothing more than just a normal tail on this plane. So all of that is done. All we're going to do is back out of that. Alright, we're already in the linkage menu, so now let's go right on down to the system type. Enter into the system type. We want 18 channel. We're using a fast test type receiver, so you want that selected. Then you want to come over here, and telemetry has to be activated here. So if that's not activated, go ahead and just select activated. And then of course you've got down here where you can set the fail-safe point for your battery, and this is actually the receiver battery that you're setting it for. We're not going to go into all of that right now. So anyway, at this point now, we have these things done, so we are actually ready to link our receiver. So I've got a receiver set up right here, and all we're going to do, we're already in, all we're going to do, we're already in the proper place for the linking right now, so we're going to select link, and then we're going to turn on the power. You'll notice the red light on the receiver. That quickly it's changed to the green light, and it shows us on the transmitter that the link has been established. Now I know there's a lot of you out there, you have done this many, many times, but as I say, there are people that for the first time have gotten this system and they are needing a little bit of direction because it's the first time they've had a very involved type system to work with, or they may be coming from another manufacturer and trying to adjust to the programming ways of the Futaba. So anyway, I hope that's going to help you, and in just a moment we will get into the actual setup of the telemetry. Now you'll notice here that I've got one of the SBS-01G GPS sensors from Futaba, and you'll notice that I've also got it mounted on a board, and this goes right into one of my aircraft. I found out that you can take these GPS sensors this way, and if you mount them on a board and it's mounted on the foam rubber just like the instructions say to, this is held in place by nothing more than two small screws. The only thing you have to do is make sure you have this top of this towards the top of the aircraft, that there is nothing above it that would interfere with it receiving the satellite signal. That would mean no carbon fiber, no batteries, no servos, or anything above it. So you want it as high in the aircraft as you can. And if you mount these in such a way that they are fairly easily accessible, I found out, there's times like I had a little foamy that I just wanted to get a little information, didn't really want to put a GPS sensor in it all the time, so I had it mounted where I could just take this one out, set it in the foamy, then I could go and fly it for that 1 day session, and then I had the information that I wanted to find out, that I was curious about. I just wanted to know what the top speed was on it. I wanted to have an idea of what the landing speed was on it. So I got that, enjoyed a good flying session with it, and then it only took me about 3 minutes to take it out of that plane and put it right back in the one that I had it in to start with. So there's a lot of flexibility if you just think about it when you're setting up the mounting on these. Anyway, what we're going to do, I've got this sensor here, and we're going to go ahead and set this sensor up for operation. You'll notice I've got my transmitter on. I'm going on and turn that off right now. It's not told you in the instructions that you have to turn it off, and probably would be no problem in doing it. But you'll notice that I'm taking this rubber cover off the back of my transmitter, and I've got my GPS unit just set up here with nothing more than a short extension cable, and I'm going to take that and just plug it right into the back of my transmitter. I hope you can see that pretty good here. I don't know how good the lighting is, but it plugs right into the back of the transmitter. There you go, that's a little bit better view of it. So you can see what's going on there. So it's plugged in. We'll only go in one way if you're using a Futaba plug, because it is a polarized type plug. So go ahead now, turn that around. At this point, you can go ahead and turn your transmitter back on. Alright, and I'm in the same model menu that I was in. So what we want to do now is go back to the linkage menu one more time. We're in the linkage menu, then go down here to the bottom to sensor. Now then, what we're wanting to do at this point is go to page 3 of the sensors, and you will see reload and register. The reload, and they give you very good instructions on this in the manual, but the reload, you can take 8 or 10 different sensors that you may have for a bunch of different airplanes and hook them all together with hubs or Y connectors, whatever, and you can plug them in just like we've done this, and if you hit reload, it will take and load every one of those sensors at one time. I like to use the register here very simply because, like, I've got 4 planes now that I've set up with the GPS. I have found out those planes, they were on my 14SG, and as I'm changing them over, it's easier for me to do one plane at a time. I don't want to go into all the planes, pull all the sensors out. So I just take my GPS sensor out of the plane, hook it into the back, and I come here to register. The reason I'm making a big deal about this is because with the 14SG, I had 4 aircraft, and every single one of those, the only thing I had to do was plug in the sensor to the serial bus 2 on my receiver, and as soon as I plugged it in, I could go and set up my parameters that I wanted. It was registered automatically into the transmitter. I have taken and set up 4 with the 16Iz, and even though the instruction manual will tell you that it will automatically register it, I have yet to have one that was automatically registered. So I called Futaba and talked to them about it, and I was told yes, that sometimes they will automatically register, but not every time. And it was recommended to me just to go through this process every time, and it just saves a little bit of extra work. So anyway, it only takes just a couple moments to do. So I go down here and I select register. That quickly, the registering has succeeded. So we can close that out. We can back out of it. And we are out of that portion. Now we're ready to go ahead and start setting up our parameters for our telemetry. We are still in the linkage menu, and right down here at the bottom is telemetry. I enter into it, and you'll see the receiver right here on the left side. So I'm going to select the receiver, and now I have a battery option. I actually have 2 battery options here. You have an external battery, but that requires a separate wiring and connection to your receiver. This is the battery reading off of the serial bus that is actually in the receiver. So anyway, we are going to come over here to the right side on our battery, and we're going to select it. First thing you want to look at, we're talking about the receiver battery. You can set an alarm. It's a downward alarm. You'll notice here that I've got it set at 6.3 volts. I can change it any way I choose to do so. I use a life battery, so somewhere around 6.2, 6.3 volts is a good place for a limit as far as I'm concerned. Now then, on the alarm, you have a choice of putting a vibrator in here. I don't know if you can hear the buzzing from the vibrator, but you can have a vibrator going off. Type 3 is 3 vibrations in a row repeating itself. Now this alarm right here, it is inhibited at this point. But notice, I can have a buzzer to sound, or I can have a voice command. I kind of like the voice command, particularly even accompanied with the vibrator, simply because if I get below 6.3 volts, I'm going to start feeling the vibrator in the transmitter. I'm also going to have a voice announcing to me that I am below the 6.3 volt threshold. Now down here, speech. This is the normal reporting that we're going to be selecting. I like the switch C for my telemetry reporting. So I choose switch C, then I come over here to set it. What I want is if I pull the switch C back, you can see it on the diagram here, back towards me, then that's where it's going to be my on position, and then it's going to be off in the mid position or the forward position. So that's exactly what I want on that. Now it's in the off position. There too, it's in the off position once more. So we're going to come out of this, and we're going back one step further. Now then, let's take a look at our GPS. GPS, you're going to have several different things you can set up here. I want altitude. So let's go with altitude first. Now, once again, I've got the same type of alarms here. I can have a buzzer, I can have a voice, or I can inhibit it. You'll notice I've got it set at 380 feet over here for an alarm. We're allowed to go 400 feet with our flying according to the FAA. So if I get an alarm at 380 feet, then that's going to give me enough time, even if I'm doing 80 miles an hour as I'm going up. That will give me enough time to at least put a little down elevator on it, pull back on the throttle, whatever's necessary. So I can set this alarm, buzzer, or voice. Since I will go ahead and use the voice on here. I don't particularly want to have the vibrations going, but you can have the vibrations if you so choose. So anyway, this is an upwards. This is anything above 300 feet, 380 feet. Now then, if I want to, I can set a lower limit. I don't really know why you would want to do that in this case, but anyway, it is available to you and you have the same options, buzzer, voice, whatever. We're going to inhibit it. Remember, I like down here at my speech, now this is to get my normal reporting, switch D. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have switch C here, and I'm going to go ahead and set this. Remember, I had my battery reporting from down here in this position. I don't want a position in the middle where there's nothing going to be going on. And then I want it to be reporting the altitude to me when it's in the upward position. So on the switch C, if I pull it back, I get my battery reading. Put it in the middle, I don't have to hear anything. If I put it in the forward position, it will give me my altitude. So with that done, going right back, once again you can verify your settings and all here and make sure everything is the way that you want it, and then right back out of it. Now then, that was the altitude. We can go for our ground speed also. GPS, I'm going to, I guess I'm going to go ahead and just set up an alarm by voice that lets me know anytime I've exceeded 124 miles per hour. This might be a little bit irritating, but I'll go ahead and set it up for purposes of this demonstration anyway. I can inhibit. Down here I've got a lower limit. Really don't need a lower limit on the, I guess some people might want to set a lower limit. They've got a plane that they know comes out of the sky at a fairly, say 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour. You may want to set that. Personally, I really don't need that. So, I'm going to do nothing with my lower limit on this. Once again, now I've got switch C, which is coming up on this. What I want to do for this one is I want to set it at switch D. Go into the set. We're going to have it off, and on. So that should take care of my speed, and that should take care of my altitude as well as my battery. Now, we can go right on back. If you want to, if you're a glider pilot, you may want to set up the variometer. Same process. And some of you might want to set up the distance. If you know there's some kind of a hazard or something you shouldn't be flying over that's down 400 feet from your flying position, 600 feet or something, you may want to do something like that. But I've set up everything that I really care to have operating at this point. So we're going to back right out of this, and we are right back again to our linkage menu. Alright, just a couple final things about our telemetry. When you first turn your radio on, it'll take just a couple seconds but you will get an indication up here that you are receiving a signal from the receiver. When you first turn on your GPS unit or power to your aircraft, you need to let the aircraft sit still for somewhere around 30 seconds. It may not take that long, could take a little bit longer, until you have established a connection with the satellite. That will give it a reference point for your altitude, for your speed. It will let it zero itself in. So just give it a few seconds there when you first turn it on to get its bearings and connect with the satellite. You will notice over here on the side you'll see the green light on my GPS unit. When you have the power first turned on, now this is normally on the inside of your aircraft. I have seen them where you could see it through a canopy or that kind of a thing, but I have in fact installed one where you could see it through the canopy. But most of the time you're not going to be able to see the GPS unit itself. But when you first turn the power on, you get a red light showing that it does have power to it. Then it will turn into a green blinking light, flashing on and off, until such time as it establishes a connection with the satellite. Then you will have the solid green light, just like I was showing you over here a few moments ago. So with that in mind, I just wanted you to see, I'm going to change the view here for a couple moments. And remember, we set it up on switch C.
Battery 6.2 volt. 6.2.
And as long as it's on, it's going to continue reporting it.
Speed 0 miles per hour. 0.
Now then, switch D is where we set up our altitude. And we had that all the way forward.
Minus 13 feet.
Showing minus 13 feet.
13.
I am not outside. It cannot get a real good signal. It cannot get a real good signal from the satellite. And I did not have everything exactly still when we first powered it up. So anyway, you're going to get some variation like that, but when you give your aircraft a chance for the GPS to initialize itself, then you're going to get a much more accurate reading. So with that, that is basically the steps that are required to set up telemetry with the Futaba 16Iz. So I hope that this has been a help for you, and with that I will be closing out and saying good flying. Thank you for watching.